The next step, and this is literally on the near horizon this year. Now imagine as a manager, I say, I just want to hire somebody for my new marketing team. And at the click of a button, at the click of one button, a master supervisory agent now starts assembling a team of agents, one that's going to create a job description, one that's going to go out and source candidates, another agent who's going to sort through and set up a series of interviews with me. And of course, it's checking in with me periodically. Yes, I want to interview this person. No, I don't want to interview that one. And then as the interviews happen across the team, it's summarizing all the feedback from the players and comes back and says, here are the top 3 candidates, right? I make my decision. Another agent is called in to create the job offer and actually extend it. I mean, all of the automation that by my just pressing a single button that says hire someone, it will call that whole team of digital agent workers for me working on my behalf to complete that end-to-end experience from creating and
Have
sourcing
goosebumps.
candidates to hire.
It's William Tincup and Ryan Leary. You are listening, hopefully watching, the You Should Know podcast. We have a recurring guest on, Yvette Cameron, whom I absolutely love. And she's with Oracle. If you don't know that already, you should. So we're going to have a conversation today on kind of 2 fronts. One is the front of Oracle and what they have going on in HCM with AI and kind of how they're interacting with their customers about it. And we're just going to talk broadly about what HR what they're dealing with AI and strategies, etc. So I would butcher your title if I were to try to do your title because it's really fancy. So I'm not going to do that. Yvette, would you do us a favor and introduce yourself?
Absolutely. I'm Yvette Cameron. I'm the Senior Vice President of Oracle's Cloud HCM Product Strategy. And I'm very happy to be here with you guys today.
100%. All right. So let's start with Oracle and HCM and AI. So where are we right now on our growth path? I mean, obviously y'all been dealing with AI for years, so it's not like this is new. But where are you what's new in the world of AI for your product?
Yeah, well, it is definitely a rocket ship, and we have left the Earth, and we are on a very rapid trajectory. So your point is absolutely spot on, right? AI is not new. We've been doing AI for over a decade. But in the last year and a half, we have gone from just delivering classic AI, predictive AI recommendations to introducing our first generative AI capabilities in September of 2023. Throughout 2024, we enhanced our offering and started delivering agentic AI, so RAG-based agents that take the context of company policies and things and start answering questions that individuals have and getting very contextual responses. And we're now moving into agentic workflows where we are able to start delivering not just on a single transaction, but starting to link them together in simple to complex end-to-end workflows. So this is a progression. We continue delivering across all of those areas of generative and agentic AI, but the pace is fast and furious.
Where are you seeing most challenges right now for HR? So across Oracle spectrum of clients, people that you're working with, where's the biggest challenge? Is it implementing? Is it how to use? Is it how to gain adoption without scaring employees? What are you seeing out there?
There's a lot of challenges. I would say probably the first and largest challenge amongst HR leaders and organizations is trust. There's a lot of concern, and rightfully so, about protecting organizational data. Are you as an enterprise vendor using our company data to train the large language models? Will it be used then for the benefit of others? And I think that's a well-grounded concern. I think when ChatGPT hit the market, we all started using it. And it wasn't until a little while that we realized we could turn off the history and say, no, don't use this to train your models. And so, of course, the enterprise approach, especially at Oracle, our focus is very much on keeping your data yours, right? Not using it to train models so that we can be your trusted partner. So I would say trust is first and foremost the biggest challenge. And then beyond that, there's such a proliferation of generative AI capabilities now hitting the market, and organizations don't know where to start. I think they're focused more on quantity. Let's bring as many as we can to our processes, and they're not focused enough on curating quality agents and generative AI capabilities. They're looking for a rapid return on their investment, and the investments might be small in certain areas, very significant in others. And I see organizations oftentimes just saying, well, how many do you have? Let's just embrace them all and get started there, and they're not necessarily focusing on what matters. So I think trust, I think specialized curation, and also governance. Governance is a common theme across organizations. So how do we pick where we start? How do we ensure that it's going to be adopted well and understood by our workforce? How do we ensure that the answers that these new agents are delivering are accurate and appropriate for our organization? What approvals do we need to get across our company before we can deploy it? Do we need, works councils or union approvals or, different groups, et cetera? Who owns agent and generative AI deployment? Is it HR? Is it IT? Is it individual lines of business? So there's a lot of challenges. Yeah, I'll stop there. There's many more.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that you and I have lived through, Ryan has lived through it as well, is on-prem versus SaaS. Okay, so that madness hopefully is a little bit past us. And then living through the nightmare of point solutions versus a suite. Okay, I think that nightmare is almost over. But I think you are well positioned in the sense of you sit on a lot of data. But how do you get people to use it seamlessly in their workflow? Like they're doing a job and it's getting to an outcome. How do they now partner and think of the pilots, the AI? How do you get them to think of the agents not as competitors or even other employees, but how do you get them to think of as collaborators to get to that outcome?
Yeah. So there's a lot in that question, and I want to step back just a little bit and set the stage a little bit. So, first off, I want to make sure that we're really clear when we're talking about generative AI, right? The generative AI that first hit enterprise applications that Oracle first delivered, were focused on authoring and summarizing content. All right. And that's a very important capability. It streamlines a lot of pieces. And to your question of how do you get people to adopt, generative AI, it's very simple. Our strategy, as being part of their trusted AI partner, is that because AI is embedded in our applications all the way down into our infrastructure, we're able to bring AI and data together in a way that's seamless. We're not exposing, through interfaces and different pieces. It's embedded in our transactions. So it's a very natural process to be, completing. I want to hire somebody, and the first step is to create a job requisition. And so I'm presented with the job requisition page where I would normally enter information. And now with the click of a button, generative AI will create that job description. Or I'm doing a performance evaluation and I can start typing my summary. A button, right, will complete that summary for me based on pulling all kinds of data, feedback, performance information, goal completion, etc., from across the HCM system into a single piece. Then we moved into adding agents. Agents move beyond just authoring to actually answering questions. So again, if I am completing my performance review for an employee, I might have a question about how do I prepare for this performance review? What makes what makes for an effective conversation, especially if this is going to be difficult? Now it's kind of a general answer.
So
but
that's for Yvonne, you see that as that's for everyone, right? So
That's
that's
for
for
everyone,
employees
right?
and managers.
Yes, exactly. So the
Got it.
employee themselves might say, how do I prepare for my conversation with my manager? How do
Right.
I bring up the fact that I want to transfer to another team, you know? And in that question, I want to transfer to another team, the AI agent, because it knows the policies now, it's got the context of company policies and practices or union policies, etc. It can say, well, Yvette, you should know that you have to be in your position for 1 year before you're eligible for a
Oh, that's
transfer. And it
cool.
can answer and guide me because that's the company policy. Whereas for Jane sitting next to me in a different division, you know, it might be that while the company policy is a year in your position, because of that particular organization, it might be 6 months or something different. So very personalized, contextual answers as part of these new agent capabilities. And then, you know, as we now start moving into, and let me come back to your question of how do I onboard that? Again, I'm in the transaction. I can use generative AI to complete stuff where appropriate, fill in forms and summarize information. I can now contextually ask questions anywhere in the app across benefits, comp, you know, time and labor. I'm making my schedule. I'm adjusting my leave of absence and ask questions and get that personalized guidance anywhere. So onboarding is not a consideration. It's just right there in the way that I interact with the application. And of course, from an administrative perspective and a customer perspective, it's nice because we're not having to pay for this service, right? We embed generative AI and agentic AI in our applications at no additional cost because our focus is getting people to better outcomes, right? And this is a challenge I've heard, William. You know, companies were so excited to get on the bandwagon of AI and start seeing some benefits. They brought in these external solutions and, you know, started deploying it. And then lo and behold, when employees started using it, their costs went up.
Yep.
And they found themselves trying to tamp down usage.
That's it's counter to the interest.
Yeah. Exactly. It's what you don't want to do in a generative AI environment. So we make adoption very natural because it's automatically included in our applications. There's no additional cost. It's part of your experience in a transaction. It couldn't be more natural than you know, just getting your work done in the flow of work.
A real quick follow-up, Ryan, apologies. How, from a scale to 1 to flying cars, is AI being the interface that everyone interacts with? So if you're in comp or performance or if you're an employee, whatever, like there is no dashboard. There is, you know, like what we're used to the web and things and then clicking and buttons and all that stuff. Why can't it just be voice at one point or even text based where it's about whatever the outcome is? And then it goes and then you just shape. And so it's almost like choose your own adventure every day.
Yeah.
So again, that might be more close to flying cars. Like I get it, but it seems to me like the tech's already there. Because of the data's already there. It's just we might not be ready for that type of interface.
So we're going to be at that interface, that brand new text only or some other interface very soon, right?
Okay.
As an industry, Oracle as a service and technology provider is going to be there very quickly. In fact, today we can support that text interface where you are asking and answering, even taking action to some extent. But this is a progression. I mean, look at where we are today, William. We've got well over 100 generative AI capabilities across our Fusion applications, and dozens are coming out every quarter. Every quarter, we're adding, whether it's generative AI or new agents or some of these agentic workflows every quarter. And so that pace of innovation is a big impact for organizations, employees, you know, who are used to going to work and doing things one way. So we are progressively unveiling and delivering new capabilities, right? Just the summarization took people by surprise and that authoring content, but very quickly they adapted. And now this question and answer and trusting in the data, because again, we have the data, we keep your data safe, but we also ingest your policies, your approach. And so people are seeing, yes, this is appropriate for our organization. Moving to an experience where I'm not in the traditional HCM software transaction
That's right.
page where I have to fill fields and select from
Right.
drop-down lists and stuff, moving from that to a pure interface of, say, a chat experience
Yeah.
or some sort of a workbench where I'm just saying, yeah, I want to pick this agent and this agent, now go to work. That is coming. That is absolutely the future, the very near future of agentic human capital management. And it's just a matter of, where it's going to start manifesting and how quickly it will unveil.
Yvette, I want to go back maybe just a little bit because you've answered this, but I think for the audience, we might be able to shape this a little better so they can visualize in their minds a bit. You guys have been doing this for decades, right? Like you've been doing this for a long time. This isn't new. It's new to the user, the end user. What have you seen if you can categorize, and it might be hard to do right now, but if you can categorize in the buckets, what that shift has been from the time you started all the way through now and what we expect in the next year or two coming from Oracle? How would you categorize that? Just so an HR person or a workforce leader, they can look at it and say, yeah, okay, now I get that. I see where we're at.
For years, we would recruit people, and AI, classic AI, would be used to help rank candidates, perhaps suggest best fit candidates, recommend jobs to candidates based on skills and other pieces. So that kind of use of AI has been in place in the recruiting process for many, many years, and we've all become very used to that. At the first evolution of generative AI, now suddenly we could save time and improve the consistency of our job requisitions because generative AI could generate a job description in moments as opposed to the hour or so that managers would use to create them from scratch. Now generative AI can create relevant, appropriate, and contextual to your organization job descriptions in a moment. All you have to do is some editing and you're done. Then comes in the RAG-based agents, right? So RAG meaning retrieval augmented generation of content. So retrieval augmented by uploading the policies of your company. Maybe there's industry specific regulations, or there's regional or union contracts, etc. By uploading those policies against these new generative agents, these agentic agents, now we can start answering questions and guiding people in a much more natural, efficient way than follow, the click path to different places. And as a manager, I can, as I'm saying, I want to create a job requisition and I want to hire for somebody. The agent can now come back and start advising that, by the way, there are, people in your organization, or as I'm making the offer, I can say, is this offer a good one? And the agent now can come back and say, well, based on other offers that have been extended and accepted or rejected, based on market competitive rates, and based on internal equity, you should actually increase your offer by 18%. And by the way, don't forget that this position is also eligible for stock and bonus and various things. Personalized guidance so that when I get that offer out there, the next step, and this is literally on the near horizon this year. Now imagine as a manager, I say, I just want to hire somebody for my new marketing team. And at the click of a button, at the click of one button, a master supervisory agent now starts assembling a team of agents, one that's going to create a job description, one that's going to go out and source candidates, another agent who's going to sort through and set up a series of interviews with me. And of course, it's checking in with me periodically. Yes, I want to interview this person. No, I don't want to interview that one. And then as the interviews happen across the team, it's summarizing all the feedback from the players and comes back and says, here are the top 3 candidates, right? I make my decision. Another agent is called in to create the job offer and actually extend it. I mean, all of the automation that by my just pressing a single button that says hire someone, it will call that whole team of digital agent workers for me working on my behalf to complete that end-to-end experience from creating and
Have
sourcing
goosebumps.
candidates to hire. I mean, it feels like
I love it.
magic, doesn't it?
It's giving me goosebumps. So this might be far-fetched, but we've all seen the videos of Elon Musk and some of the others saying at the company, if the meeting doesn't pertain to you, get up and walk out. Right? Don't come to the meeting if this and that. Does this get us to a place where hiring managers don't have to micromanage the hiring process with the team or whomever, and they just get to make the final decision? They can actually stay out of that process until and if, in fact, they are needed in that actual process.
So potentially, yes. Our philosophy at Oracle is that AI and agents, agentic AI, should augment the work of individuals, and taking humans completely out of the loop sometimes makes complete sense. I think in the area specifically of hiring, no. I think we want to have checkpoints. It starts with, here are the suggested people that you should interview, and, prioritize those, whittle it down. I can decide as an organization if I want to have that be a checkpoint or I want that just fully automated and the system will go through and create the interviews for me. That's fine too. So I still, I as a hiring manager, personally would still like to have different checkpoints, but I want a lot of that automated. But I think that's a decision that companies and individuals within companies should be able to make. There's other areas. We see this in supply chain, for example, where if you're onboarding a whole bunch of new partners and whatnot, you can do that completely autonomously, right? There's no reason to have to look at documents and go and enter and transfer stuff. Let the agents, bring in all the information, create the account and the purchase orders. If I'm going to meet with somebody, use agents to bring in all the background information that's appropriate to meet with that supplier and make some determination, and ultimately get them set up to where I just have to hit a yes, accept this new, these 20 new suppliers or 200 new suppliers. So depending on the workflow, it should be, work can and should be completely autonomous until that last checkpoint. And in other cases, you're going to want human interaction decision points. And the agents need to be intelligent enough to know when to reach out and get my intervention and not. And that's, these are the use cases that we're working on very closely with a bunch of our customers across so many different use cases, not just in HCM, but across, the enterprise, all the places that people and actions are required. Where can we be fully autonomous, and where do we need those checkpoints?
Really quickly, you've mentioned upload policies. Have y'all had discussions internally about values, social norms, ethics, morals, etc.? And it's the other side of the company. It's the softer side of a company. Like they have a series of values that they live by. Okay, how does AI interact with values?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you think about it, the policies of a company will reflect the values of the organization. So again, if we focus on the recruiting experience, and you're very focused on, fair and non-discriminatory hiring, you specifically want to ensure that everyone has an equal opportunity, and it's skill-based, right? Hiring, etc. That language is in the policies of your documents, and as you're uploading those, then that guidance and that tenor, that tone comes into the guidance that is given to the users. So I think the culture of the company is very much reflected in, how they document their processes and policies, and all of that naturally comes into the interactions, the collaboration that we have now as we move forward with these AI agents.
So let's flip to the other side of the equation, HR interacting with AI and their adoption curve, and some of the things that we're seeing intellectual. I was just talking to somebody about this earlier. The biggest challenge that I've seen so far in HR practitioners is an emotional challenge around change, not an intellectual challenge. It's more, I have to get past this is relentless. It'll never stop. I'll never get to the place. That's okay. And I'll fail a bunch, and that's okay. And so that emotion is counterintuitive to historic HR practitioners who've come up through the ranks that things have to be perfect. And this is a bit messier than what they've been accustomed to and taught. But that's just me speaking.
No,
You know,
it's a really good point. We talked at the start, Ryan, you asked about barriers to adoption, and one of the barriers I didn't mention is waiting for perfection, right?
yeah,
Organizations, HR leaders so much want to know that everything is perfect, that it's exactly what they expect every time, that, et cetera, that there is concern about adopting. There's also concern that somehow if I adopt these tools, I'm,
right.
I'm going to be out of a job, or I'm going to, have my workforce, be out of work too, because the agents will take over. I think from the fear about AI taking over jobs, I'm actually seeing less as a top conversation as companies have had more experience in the consumer world with AI or listening to others. They are seeing the value that AI and agentic AI bring to the table as far as consistency and compliance and efficiency and augmenting, improving the way I think about the process that I'm trying to complete, giving me information in the moment that I need, so that I'm making better decisions, making better content and process overall. So the loss of jobs to AI is less of a concern, but that idea that, do we know everything about them? And the truth is, it is messy, and we're
Yeah.
learning so much. And think of where we are. Again, September of 2023, we introduced in HCM our first 9 generative AI applications. We have dozens and dozens of generative AI and agentic AI applications in our application today. Here we are in, what is this, early 2025. So in just over a year, 50 plus capabilities in HCM, and it's mind-boggling, I think, for HR to think about and to understand, is everything exactly perfect? So the lesson that I think organizations need to embrace is, and this is a common theme we like to say, is, think big, start small, and move fast. You need to build your muscle. You need to build your skill set of deploying and interacting with generative AI and agentic AI. You need to build that confidence and that comfort. You need to understand its limitations,
Yep.
as well as its advantages, and you're only going to get that through experience. And so I think this is a big challenge for HR, is moving out of what is typically a comfort zone of, we know everything, we know we've got all of our processes, and now it's a little more free form, but we have to have comfort with that.
It's like going from classic music that's very, very specific to jazz.
It doesn't
Yep.
work for everybody, does it?
It doesn't work for everybody. It's one of those deals. And again, one of my dearest friends is a classic guitarist, and it is amazing. Well, just to watch him play is amazing. And I've been to a jillion jazz clubs. I've never had the same experience.
Yeah, it's
It,
different.
it's
And
different.
this is where I think it gets scary for organizations, is because the first couple of generations of generative AI
Right.
and agentic AI was about authoring and answering questions, but now AI can take action. It can
Mhm.
create those interviews. It can create that job offer. It can extend the job offer. It can actually hire the individual into your HCM system. That's where, when it's completing transactions, people get really nervous. But you don't just go from, I'm used to seeing a recommendation for candidates to interview,
Right.
to I'm going to use AI to hire. You're right. That's
Yeah.
a 1 to 10 that we don't recommend.
Right.
Phase yourself in. There are so many levels of generative AI support and agentic AI support throughout the applications that we're delivering. Phase your way, grow your confidence in the capabilities,
And
and
what was the
flex that
phrase you
muscle.
use? Think big.
Think big, start small, move fast.
Love that. That's
I do
genius.
like that. Yeah. So, Yvette, question I have is around questions people need to ask. So, organizations, whether you're working with them or not, that may or may not be using some form of this within their organization. They're hesitant. They're not moving fast, right? They're not being decisive on this. What are the questions that they need to ask themselves internally, or what conversations maybe should they have internally with themselves or with others
Yeah.
to make this move?
I think one of the questions is, do I want to be made better, right? Do I want to
Yeah.
be supported? Because ultimately AI makes us better. Gives us better decision support. It gives us more information. Do I want to grow in my role and grow the company and help, individuals across the company grow? Do I want to be left behind? I'm telling you, so
Yep.
many organizations are embracing AI in different forms, some in scary forms. They're using,
Yeah.
non-enterprise grade capabilities. They are exposing their data.
Oh yeah.
I
Oh
hear
yeah.
companies still say to me, "Oh, we take our job descriptions and we put them into Chat GPT," and I'm like, "Oh gosh, all of your but companies are embracing it,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Well,
So let's talk about that too, because I think that's important. A lot of
yeah.
companies are using Chat GPT and saying, "Yeah, we're using AI, right? Get it, okay." But maybe if you could talk about that, because I think that's important for people listening to note that you can't really, or you shouldn't really, just go to Chat GPT, open up the browser, and start dropping job descriptions in there.
No, and every solution has its different approaches, and they'll, some of the consumer-based tools and others that are not delivered with your HCM capabilities will say, "Oh, we protect your data," but in
Right.
truth, they're not.
No.
They're using your data to train the large language model so that it better understands the language of the process that you're using, or it's consuming your company data, and that's just not what we want
Doesn't
to have
have access.
happen. We
Yeah. It
want
doesn't
that
have access to that.
it's that IP that you need to
Yep.
protect. And also we talked about the cost, right? And even for some technology vendors today who are in HCM, they're charging their
Yep.
customers. Now they
That's
have
crazy.
to, because the one difference that Oracle has is we're not just an applications vendor, we're a technology vendor.
Right.
So our Oracle Cloud infrastructure underlies all of our capabilities. Our apps are on that. And that means that, we're working with the largest, the leading LLMs. We can swap out the winners. We train and find that, certain LLMs work better for certain use cases. And so, we might use Cohere for one, we might use Llama for another set of use cases and different ones. We have that ability to swap, but ultimately our cloud infrastructure, we're delivering the scale that's needed for these. And we're seeing the adoption of AI is just taking off. The other vendors have to charge if they don't have that technology infrastructure,
Right.
because they're dependent on third parties like Oracle or AWS or Google or others who can, increase their prices as the volume increases in clicks, right? So you don't want to expose your data. You don't
Oh
want to
yeah.
pay for this as the volume increases, and you want some insight into, knowing that, your technology vendor is there and ready from a technology perspective to scale and grow to whatever usage you and others are making of this generative AI.
So John, Ryan's a power user of ChatGPT, and he taught me a couple months back. Once you get done with a bit, ask it, "What should I have asked that
Mm.
I didn't ask?"
Hmm.
And now I do that pretty much every time I'm interacting with it. And what I find fascinating is like HR analytics. We've been through this, I would say several different layers of analytics, of teaching people how to look at people analytics or talent analytics. I think I'm excited about an agent being able to look at analytics and tell me what I should be looking at. and as opposed to the old dashboards that we all had to live through. And like a dashboard, it's only as good as its ability to tell you, like, okay, that you need to do that. And I'm excited about that part because I think that there's a whole lot of cool things that HR can do with people analytics that they haven't been able to unlock because they don't know what they're looking at.
They don't know what they're looking at. The dashboards, unfortunately, don't tell them
Right.
what they should be seeing. It might surface that a KPI is over or under, but it's not really giving you the deep insights. That's, and I'm so glad you brought that up. We've been using AI in our analytics capabilities for years. This ability for now, as we're bringing agents in, it means that we don't even have to really worry about creating those packages of dashboards
Right.
now as HR and IT administrators. You'd spend every month creating this package and managing access. Now as a manager, a line of business leader, I can just go in and say, what's happening across my KPIs? What do I need to worry about? And the AI will come back and tell you, and not just tell you, but start creating the visualizations for you. And because all of this is part of one application and infrastructure, the security and the access is consistent. You don't have to think about, are these agents going to expose data to managers that they shouldn't see? No, if you've locked down the security and data access in your HCM system, the same security protocols and access will be inherited by the agents natively. This is not what happens when you slap on some third-party AI solution to your HCM. It only comes when it's embedded. So I love it. It'll tell you what you need. It'll draw the visualizations for you, and it won't expose anything more than it should. It's amazing.
Last quick question for me. How far out should HR practitioners be thinking about their AI strategy?
Well, I would say if they haven't already embarked on AI, on embracing, if they're still in the analysis phase or trying to create their governance councils, they're already behind, right? The time to start was yesterday on this stuff. But I will tell you that AI, as we've mentioned, is progressing rapidly. We're already in our third or fourth generation, as it were, of generative and agentic AI capabilities. And this idea of actually changing the user experience so that I'm not going to a transaction page, but I'm just managing in a chat or managing from some, dashboard or workbench. That is on the very near horizon. So as an HR leader thinking about my AI strategy, I would say you need to think about what you can do tomorrow. Where can you start or where can you advance tomorrow? Because if you try to think about where do I want to be a year from now, who knows? Because AI is changing and growing so rapidly. Get started, build that experience, and then watch, what comes, and don't be afraid to explore and experiment. And there may be some challenges along the way. That's part of learning and growing. And, Apple phones grew very quickly and we had challenges, but, it's this technology has taken off even faster than that. So it's a rocket ship, as I said at the start of this, and moving quickly.
Drops mic, walks off stage. Yvette Cameron. Everyone connect with her on LinkedIn. I'm sure she'll love that. Anyhow, Yvette, thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for breaking things down. Y'all are doing great work, and we love you.